we are not a team of, like you see on TV sometimes where there's ghosts and demons everywhere every time they go. We do this scientifically. So our goal is to try and prove that whatever they have going on is reasonable and natural. It's not caused by paranormal activity. I mean, if they hear knocks on the wall, I mean, could that be the piping? Could that be neighbors next door? Could that be animals outside? I mean, that's what we try and look for first. And then what we're left with that we can't explain, we then can show them, hey, we don't have an explanation for this, and you can kind of take it however it is you will. Probably 90% of the time, it's natural causes. And it makes people feel a lot better knowing that we have an explanation for them that they never thought about to begin with. Especially with this equipment that we do have, we can actually prove, hey, it is your pipes because of this reason or that reason, or your light is putting off a lot of EMF, which is electro frequencies. That's why you're feeling the way you are. We can actually give them scientific reasoning for what they're seeing or what they're feeling or what they're hearing. With that being said, we also like to have fun. This is something that not only we do for fun or to help people, we also enjoy doing this. It's the thrill of investigating is probably one of the best things that we can ask for, is when you're in that creepy dark room and then you hear a voice that shouldn't be there, or you hear a sound, or you see something move. So there are a lot of places that we go and investigate that we actually pay for, and I'll kind of let Ben talk about that because he's probably been to more of those places than any of us have combined. So.
You talk about paid investigation, you're talking about places that have opened their properties to investigators, tourists, basically anybody who wants to pay to go inside these generally famous, fairly famous haunted places. Waverly, how many people have heard of Waverly Hills Sanatorium, Moundsville Penitentiary in West Virginia? Places like those, basically they're in towns in parts of the country where this is a huge part of their economy. So the paid investigations, going to those for us is kind of like getting ourselves a Christmas present. You know, it's basically just going and paying over some money to go to these places and just getting on the ride for about 6 or 7 hours and seeing what we can catch. It is a lot of fun, but when nothing's happening, it's really pretty boring. With Waverly Hills, Moundsville Penitentiary, the Ohio State Reform Board, my favorite place, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in West Virginia. These are huge hotbeds of activity. There's so much going on in these places, and generally speaking, a lot of things happen in those places. I mean, it's not like Joe Schmo's house down the street where one person died. These are places where, put together, 20,000 people have died in all these places put together. So that combined energy, kind of bundling up, you're going to have a lot of stuff going on that you can't explain right now. And I was fortunate enough to, go on I call it a work vacation. My ex-wife called it a vacation. But I went on a little trip basically across this, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, to some of the more notoriously haunted places, researching this brilliant piece of literature. And what I found was that paid or private, the activity is just as big. It's just on different scales. And when you talk about the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, is my favorite spot to stop at, and I couldn't tell you why. I think it was just there were some things that happened there that didn't happen at the other places I've been. At Trans-Allegheny, I actually heard a woman scream from down inside one of the hallways leading into the female dormitory where they used to house the criminally insane. Stuff like that happens during the daytime, you can just imagine how it is at night. And that's why people pay so much to investigate at night. When there's no other people there, you basically have free reign over the place, and it swells. You know. We had just gotten back from Moundsville. I'd been there before, of course, but they hadn't, and I'm not real sure how they took it. It was very quiet that evening, which was kind of surprising to me, but there were a couple of things that kind of stood out. We caught some little bits and pieces of evidence here and there, and I don't know.
It's very hit or miss. We do this because, like Justin said, we like the personal experience, we like the thrill of it. We do it to help people and to further science. But the only way you can try to further the field is by going out and capturing evidence. And these places that we pay to go to, they're hotbeds for activity. So your chances of having some sort of experience or capturing some piece of evidence is a lot higher. And it's a little more repeatable. When you have thousands of teams visiting these places a year, you get the same types of experiences over and over again. And if it was easier for teams to collaborate, we could use that to our advantage to try to figure out, okay, what are the situations where these things happen? What causes this? Okay, well, it's certain barometric pressure, it's a certain time of the year, a certain time of the day, things like that. You can kind of put those pieces together and see some sort of recurring event. That's how you approach any science.
In Moundsville, right before I was there the last time, not with these guys, I was there about a week after they had staged a mock riot. And this riot they've actually staged at the prison, this closed down prison. I was there about a week after they had staged it. And people from all over the country and all over the world actually come to train at this mock riot that they do in Moundsville. And I took a day tour on a Sunday morning because I'm not big on taking like these huge overnight private tours with like 50 other people that you can't trust, and they just talk and they don't know how to conduct themselves during an investigation. But the activity following that mock riot, during and afterwards, the tour guides, people that I talked to that had been there, said that it was just, it just exploded. There were voices, there were apparitions, there were bangs, there were cell doors closing on their own. After everybody left, the riot that they staged there stirred up so much residual and intelligent energies in that place that it just went bananas. And I'm sorry I didn't make it there the day after. I'll tell you that. But that kind of goes hand in hand. There are a lot of things that can trigger that kind of activity, and sometimes it's people who provoke, and then there's other people that reenact things that happen there. Like Moundsville Prison had two full-blown bloody riots in its history. So, a lot of the energies that are still there definitely get triggered to act up if something like that were to happen again.
I agree with Ben a lot. The paid investigations are a great way for us to go out and kind of increase our chances of being able to find paranormal activity and be able to document paranormal activity, as well as just have a good time. Everybody likes being scared every so once in a while. But it is one of those things for us to also hone our skills as well, so that when it comes back to those private investigations, we're a little bit more trained, a little bit more knowledgeable on how to handle certain things that would come up. So
that's the kind of thing, that's the sort of thing that we actually live for. Taking a vacation, going away to the is taking a vacation. What we do is we help people. That's what our mission is in this group, is to get out there and help people understand, help people get the other, help people get over or accept it.
How many people watch any of the shows? Anyone? A lot of hands. So you guys know how often they come across something. They're always hearing something, or it's not like that at all. Probably 90% of the time you're sitting in a dark room, maybe with one other person, asking questions to seemingly nothing and nothing's happening. Sometimes you'll take your recorder back and you'll hear some noises that you didn't hear at the time, or you might hear a voice that you didn't hear at the time. And those little pieces of stuff are what keep us coming back. You know, it's like, take any hobby that maybe frustrates you a little bit. Like, I'm a golfer. I love to play golf, but sometimes it just frustrates me to no end. But then that one good shot, and it keeps me coming back. It refreshes. It's just, you feel so good after you have that that experience. It just keeps you coming back for more. The shows kind of, I don't know, they kind of not embellish, but they kind of,
It'd be easy to take an 8-hour investigation.
Yeah.
Take 15 minutes out of it.
right.
Right, and even a lot of those shows, not saying that they're real or they're fake, but a lot of them, like even, actually, we were on My Ghost Story, and for some things that happened at Pierce Cemetery, which is in Harrison, right across behind Harrison High School, if you guys know where that's at, if you're local. We were on My Ghost Story for that, and it was, what they filmed and what we talked about was actually over months and months of time, but to make it more Hollywood, they made it seem like everything happened in one night. And it's the same thing with these shows, is that they actually will investigate this place, wherever it is they're investigating, probably 5 nights, and then they'll just combine it all into one thing, so that way it kind of gives it more of a Hollywood snap. I mean, if they were to, if you guys were to watch a video of us literally just from start to beginning of an investigation, you'd probably get bored a couple hours, maybe an hour or two into it, because I mean, a lot of time it's just, like Zach said, we're sitting in a room, asking questions, trying to try different things out to get stuff to work, and sometimes there's nothing. Most of the time there's nothing. But every so once in a while, something will happen that it's kind of like if you're in a room with somebody and you know it's just you and somebody else, and you trust this person, you know they're not going to mess with you, and then Cherry or a voice that's not one of yours, you hear somebody say something, or you just get an overwhelming feeling of I need to get out of here right now that you know is not like yourself. Those are the feelings and the moments that we like, and that's what we look for. And the more we look for these things, again, the more likely we're going to be able to one day find an answer. And it kind of leads into like our next conversation is why we do it. I know we've kind of talked about helping people and the thrills and stuff, but it's also for the answers. I mean, we want to know what happens after you die. I know like Zach and I were having a good conversation, actually all 3 of us were having a good conversation last night about it being a science and a pseudoscience. The paranormal is not a science because there's no theories or anything, there's nothing factual based behind it. It's all based on hypothesis and ideas and what we like to believe happens. Some people like to think that there are no such thing as ghosts or spirits or entities, that when you die you go to heaven or hell. Some people think that there's neither. Some people think that you get stuck somewhere in between. And that's what we're trying to figure out, is exactly what happens when you die. You have anything to add to that?
It's not even it's not even so much that everything that happens, all these occurrences, are caused by somebody's spirit. It could just be some sort of a natural explanation that we just haven't been able to document or capture yet. I mean, look at all the things that physics is still discovering. Things that were unexplained 10 years ago now have theories behind it. It's a developing science. That's why we kind of call it a pseudoscience. It's not something that's well documented. It's not something that's solidified or has any hard backing. But it's something that enough people are interested in. It's something that it's there in some way or another, but we don't know what it is yet. We're trying to figure that out. Try to help kind of further the field, help people figure out what it is that caused these paranormal experiences. Again, it could just be something natural. It could just be some natural energy in the world that some builds up in some way and then dissipates and causes something that we hear as a voice. That could just be our mind taking something unknown and transforming it into something that we understand. Cultures have done that for a long time. Back in history books and old texts, cultures described things that they didn't understand in terms that they did understand. And a lot of times to us that doesn't make any sense, because we've figured out what it is exactly, and we can put a better description, a better explanation on it. So the equipment you see in front of you, that's what we use to try to capture all this evidence. The book is key, integral to our investigation. We all keep one in our back pocket while we're investigating. We have a lot of tools here that we use, because the more things that we're recording, the more data that we can get, the better the chance is that we can find something recurring, something like we were talking about earlier, that reoccurring event that happens whenever something unexplained happens at the same time, whether it's a spike in our K2 meter, which measures electromagnetic fields, or the millimeter is the same, does essentially the same thing. Really the basics, what we all kind of started with was these two things right here. That's it. Flashlight so you don't hurt yourself in the dark, and a voice recorder. That's it. You can buy these at Walmart. Doesn't matter. You can find them just about anywhere. And that's it. And that's what we started with. We've kind of gathered some equipment over the years of investigating to try to help us, capture more evidence. One of the pieces that we love are the night shot cameras. They're kind of hard to find now. Sony's one of the only companies that has them still available. They don't really make them anymore, but it has to have a specific night shot feature. You can see some, they say, what do they call it now? Low light features and things like that. They're not the same. They're not gonna. It would be like trying to record with this light off but that light on. You would be able to capture an image with that type of light. But if you were to turn all the lights off, those cameras wouldn't capture it. The night shot cameras actually record in the infrared spectrum of light. So there's, the full spectrum of light we don't see. There's only a small portion in the middle of the wavelengths of light that our eyes can capture. This camera will capture the lower end of that, beyond what we can see. So when we're seeing pitch black, the camera's actually recording some light. There's also cameras that record ultraviolet light. Ben has a camera like that, and that's on the other end of the spectrum. So on the other side of where we can't see. So it's another tool that we can use to try to capture evidence. This light on the side, this is an IR illuminator. This is one that we built. It's just LED lights. They give off infrared light. If I were to turn it on, you wouldn't be able to see it. Even in a dark room, your eyes can't, because it's in that infrared spectrum. Camera, it picks it up like it's a flashlight. So it really helps illuminate the room, because the cameras themselves don't have a very good IR illuminator. So we built these so we could see, more of the room, or further down a hallway, or we could see more area outside if we're investigating outdoors.
It's pretty good at finding what's hiding in the room you can't see.
It's all the corners, really makes everything clearer too, because the more light that the camera has, the better the image is going to be. Motion sensors like these, they're real simple. This one is literally just, I don't even know if the battery is. No. It's just a little red light. That's it. So if anything passes in front of it, then a little red light. It doesn't seem like much, but in a pitch black room, it's like a giant red spotlight. So we use those, we can set them down in remote places, places where people have, claimed to see apparitions walking through. Or they see objects moving, things like that. We can put a motion sensor down there, set a camera up on the other side, and now we can watch that hallway without ever going down there. So it's an extra set of eyes for us, another tool that we can use to try to capture evidence. Now this by itself, if I had this sitting at the end of a hallway, and the camera watching it, nobody was there, and that goes off, and that was all that happened, I'd probably say it was a fluke. It was probably nothing. But if this goes off, and the voice recorder that we have there catches a noise, say shuffling, or some sort of a scraping noise, and we see a dark, the shadows on the camera shift, all at the same time. That's a pretty good, it's a big coincidence when something like that happens, when you capture 3 separate pieces of evidence at the same time. Those are the kinds of things that we use the equipment to try to capture. When you just have a voice recorder, yeah, you can catch some interesting things, but that by itself isn't really enough for us to say, yes, this is paranormal, or yes, something really happened. We try to piece different parts of, or different types of evidence together to really come up with a solid conclusion and say, yes, something happened, we've looked around, we can't explain it, so we're going to present it as paranormal, because it's outside of what we can understand. A couple of the new additions. This is a laser grid. You've probably seen these on some of the shows. It basically projects with the lights on, right? You can see it. Anyway, it projects kind of like a laser pointer, but it's a whole bunch of laser pointers in a big wide arc. We can fill up this projector, this screen. You point it down a hallway, it'll illuminate the walls of the hallway all the way to the end of the hallway. And we haven't really had any experiences with it yet, but a lot of the claims are it can help you see movement. You see a distortion in that field. It's a very even pattern field of lights. You see a distortion in that field. It's a good way to help you see something that maybe you wouldn't have been able to see. And then Ben just acquired this. This is I'll let you explain it.
That's the SB7 Spirit Box. Have you ever heard of the Spirit Box at all? It's basically, it's an AM/FM radio that's programmed to basically speed through stations that don't have anything on them. Say they pick out the ones that kind of scan through. They scan over the ones that playing music, and they actually kind of scan over the ones that don't. So basically, you have a stream of white noise, and it does it very quickly. And most of the times, they say if you were to use the Spirit Box, we've used it a couple of times at Moundsville, and with very little fanfare or anything like that. Kind of got irritating. It's nothing but static, and it's very loud. You have to talk really loud over it, but it basically creates a solid white noise that the hypothesis is that it enables basically a voice or a place for spirits to speak and be heard. Haven't had anything happen with it yet. Hoping they get more use out of it, and maybe something will happen. But it is. There have been some interesting things that have been caught on the SB7 Spirit Boxes, and I'm looking forward to catching some.
A lot of these devices are the idea behind what these can do for us is, well, with what Ben was saying, the hypothesis that if a spirit is present, sometimes they can manipulate energy around them, whether it be through the temperature. They can drain the energy out of the air that would make it feel colder. So you hear people talking about cold spots. That's why. And the energy in the air in the form of heat is being drained out of the air. And that creates a cold spot. Or the electromagnetic fields. You can manipulate those, and on some of these devices you can see fluctuations in the strength of the field. That can indicate that there's something paranormal. And this is the same way. The idea is it's a type of energy. It's audio energy that spirits can manipulate. Just another tool in the toolbox. We might go through an investigation and not a single device goes off, but at the end we'll have voices on our voice recorder. They might be extremely clear, and that might be the only thing we got. Or, we might have EMF spikes and nothing else. The rest of the investigation. So it's kind of hard, like I was saying earlier, to take those single bits of evidence and present them as paranormal, and not just an anomaly. Some of these devices, they're not perfect. If you move the millimeter too fast, it'll spike. So if you turn real quickly and look at it, it'll look like it just spiked. But that's just from the movement. It's just the way it's made. So we kind of have to take everything with a grain of salt. We all try to be skeptics a little bit. We don't go out there looking to find paranormal activity. We go out there looking to try to disprove it. If we can find even the slightest explanation, we're going to dismiss it. If at one point during the night we heard people outside talking, and we look outside and there's people walking down the street, well, now it's kind of hard to warrant any audio that we caught that sounds like a voice as being something paranormal, because we could hear people talking outside when they were walking by. So we try to look for all those little things that would disprove anything that we catch. And approaching this as skeptics is really the only way that we can truly find any sort of paranormal evidence. Because when you explain away everything else, when you look at everything logically and rationally, and explain everything in natural terms, anything that's left is paranormal, outside of our normal range of experience.
So earlier Zach was talking about how when we first started we only had a flashlight and a recorder. Well, a lot of things you can do very simple like this. Flashlight's probably my favorite thing to use on investigation. And I can use it for more than just to see where I'm going. So these mag lights right here, pretty much how these things work is that you unscrew the top and you turn the light on, you screw them to turn it off. What this does is there's a connection inside of here that whenever you tighten it or you unloose it, or I guess you loosen it up, it's going to complete the connection and turn the light on. And then once you shut it all the way, it pretty much moves the connection and it doesn't work anymore. The battery is disconnected from the light. Well, what I like to do, again, this is a hypothesis, something that there has been times where we're pretty sure this is paranormal. There's other times where it's interesting and it could be paranormal. Is whenever you turn this light just enough to where it's off, where it's not touching anything, what spirits are supposed to be able to do is use their energy to be able to complete this circuit and turn this light on with nobody being next to it. Actually, I'm going to show that video real quick. I got a video for you guys so you can actually see how this flashlight works. And this particular one is actually at Moundsville Penitentiary.
Fix it best I could. Turn on the flashlight. Don't be upstairs in the demon. Come on. Okay. You know what? I have a second flashlight. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be without a flashlight. So turn this off. Just like that. You got a red one, you got a purple one. Okay. See, you can figure that out. Turn one of them on.
All you're gonna do is twist twist the top of it.
Now, do you not like bad air going left and right? Good. Our round pit out is one that actually is on before. Can you turn it off? If you can turn that flashlight off all the way and turn it on all the way, we'll walk out. Deal? Okay. Turn the red one on all the way. If you can do that, we're out of here.
Oh,
Okay?
shit.
You want it? We're out of here. Okay? Turn it off.
Before I do that. Mayor's lost my job as a document.
So that's just kind of a basic, I guess, look at how this flashlight works. Again, there are many things that could cause this. I mean, we were in a basement, you're talking about it, I think it was storming that night. Just the buildup of electrons in that room itself could have turned that flashlight on. But again, as you saw, they asked for it to turn the purple one on, it turned it on. And then they asked it to turn it off, it turned back off. And then Rich, one of the investigators that was on it that's not here tonight, asked for him to turn the other one on, and it turned on. So coincidence, maybe, paranormal, maybe, I don't know. But again, it's one of those things that we like to try everything, whether it's a proven thing or not. Like this smell meter, it's proven, it can pick up electromagnetic changes in the air. That's what it does. It's not necessarily for paranormal activity, but that's what its job does. It's proven to do that. This flashlight, not proven that that's what's causing it, but it's something that maybe one day, by documenting enough of it, we can actually prove that yes, it is a possibility that paranormal activity can cause that flashlight to turn on by itself. So, again, something very, very simple that we can use and can lead to. I mean, there's been times where we've had entire conversations with it, and even double ask questions, like, are you a man or are you a woman? It turns on with a woman. Ask a couple different questions and then come back to it. Okay, so again, are you a man? Light stays off. Are you a woman? Light comes back on. So again, coincidence, maybe, we don't know. But again, it's something, the more that we document this stuff, the better off we are to be able to have a real explanation on why that flashlight can turn on and off by itself on command. So, anything else with equipment? Okay. So we'll kind of briefly go over how we do investigations. Again, when Zach read the mission statement earlier, we're very confidential in what we do. Again, a lot of us have been through and lived through paranormal experiences in our life, and we understand what it's like to not want the entire world to know what we do, or not what we do, but what's going on in our personal lives as far as that stuff is concerned. We have a very strict confidentiality agreement with our clients that we sign and that they sign as well. And a lot of times, again, like I said, people are scared. People are they look at us as kind of like the last resort, because if something's going on in your house, whether it's paranormal or not, you tend to want to take care of it yourself because it's your home. But when you get to the point where you have to reach out to somebody, it's either embarrassing for you, or you're scared, or for some reason, it's usually people aren't just, hey, come investigate our house. It's, I'm terrified, please help. It's usually how it goes. So like I said earlier, we do a consultation. So usually 3 of us tops, maybe 4 will go out there, we'll sit down. We actually have a questionnaire that we have the clients fill out. And it's very detailed information, but all the information that we have is in direct correlation to what could be going on. It's all set for natural occurrences, not necessarily, we ask, where do you see apparitions, or do you hear voices and stuff, but it's also, where do you hear these voices? And when we actually go to the consultation, it's one thing for me to talk to somebody on the phone and say, I hear voices in my bedroom. But if we're there, and they're saying, yeah, I'm standing right here, and I hear voices. And then we notice that, the window's broke, and right across is a neighbor that's very loud. Different things like that we might be able to actually pinpoint. So that consultation kind of helps too, because again, if they're nervous or embarrassed or for anything whatsoever, they're kind of edgy with us being there. It kind of puts us on more of a personal one-on-one basis. They can see us without having to bring our 20 cases that we had into their house and setting up and making them feel out of home. It's kind of, we can create like a relationship with these people. They can see who we are and that we are genuine in what we do. And then from there, what we can do is set up an investigation. Usually we like to have our investigations at nighttime. It's less noisy outside, more likely to have less contamination. Usually the clients will be home then, I mean, unless they work like a night shift or something. Sometimes we do like to be alone. We do ask clients to leave us in their home. But also, depending on the situation, we sometimes need the clients to be there. For instance, if there's a family of 4 and only the mother is experiencing activity and the rest of them aren't, if there is any parental activity there, that is probably centered around the mother. So the chances are if they leave, we're not going to get it. So we're not going to make any progress there. So it's all case-by-case basis depending on if we have our clients there or not. But obviously, if our clients have a request that they want to be there, we're not going to deny that request. It's their home. We try the best that we can to kind of go around their schedule and what they feel comfortable with. And again, everybody here has day jobs. I mean, this isn't something that we get paid to do. I mean, obviously we do this for free. So we do have to work around our schedules as well. But we always try and put our clients first and do what's best for them as far as timing everything goes and how we perform ourselves and how we look in front of our clients. We're very, very respectful. Anything else to add on that?
So once we go in and do an investigation for a client, we don't just stop there. We take all the evidence back. We look through everything. We try to do it as quickly as we can. We'll put everything together. Anything that we find after we go through and we explain everything that we can, we'll put everything together and we'll take it back to the client and we'll say, this is what we found. This is what happened. We'll tell them all about our personal experiences. We'll show them any evidence that we found. We'll tell them about anything that we explained away, that the voices they're hearing are coming in from outside through the wall, the window air conditioning, or whatever the case may be. Try to explain away all their fears. Talk through everything that happened with us. Talk through everything that they've had happen, and try to put their mind at ease. Sometimes one investigation isn't enough. Sometimes we don't get anything. We can't really explain any of the occurrences that they were already having. So we may have to go back for a second investigation if that's what the client wants. It's all about making them feel at ease, making them comfortable, and helping them deal with whatever it is that they're experiencing. Once the client is satisfied, then we can go on our way. If they were ever to contact us again because something new was occurring, we would be more than happy to go back and investigate again. Again, it all comes back to making people feel comfortable.
And with Ben being our documentarian, he's really good about putting everything like on a DVD or CD that we actually give to our clients, and they get to keep for that. Pretty much the same format that I just played for you guys, just how Ben sets that up. So not only do they get to keep everything that we find, but it's done very nicely. Looks very good. You want to talk about your book for a little bit. Ben, we're very proud of Ben. Ben does a very good job at his books, and we're lucky enough to kind of come along for the ride with him. I'm sure he says that we benefit him too. We're truly thankful to have somebody like Ben and his knowledge to be a part of our team.
Anyway, I wrote this book. It's a beautiful piece of literature. It's kind of my life's work. In all seriousness, it is what I set out to do as a person, and it's actually, it's kind of a dream come true to actually have this right here. I mean, this to me, this is the equivalent of an Oscar right here, because I'm doing what I love. And with writing this book about the world's most haunted prisons, hospitals, and asylums, available here at the library, Barnes & Noble, and Amazon.com. And then being a part of the team here, is kind of this second part of that dream, I'm able to kind of really exploit everything that I wanted to do in my life. And I was lucky enough to visit those places, have some great experiences, and this came out in October, and my next one coming out February, so I'm living the dream, and bring these guys along with me. I've got plans for a third book that I'm in the process of writing now, and formally I'm going to pitch a fourth book to my publisher, which will be the 765 Paranormal Case Book, which is basically stories from all the different investigations, whether we private or paid, and names changed to protect those who wish to remain anonymous, and I'll hopefully be able to get started writing that sometime this spring. But as far as this is concerned, I'm very biased. It's brilliant, and I think that everybody here should buy one. I don't get that much of a royalty, so just knowing that you have it is enough for me. I'm not. No shame. That's all I have to say.
To toot his horn a little bit more, the book is really good. It's very well written. I've talked to different people that have read it, and it's engaging. It doesn't read like a dictionary or an encyclopedia about these places. It reads like a story. It really kind of puts you in touch with what these places were like when they were in their prime, and what kind of condition they're in now. And you can kind of see the story as how these places evolved from beginning to end to where they are now. And you can kind of understand from the way he writes it that why these places have so much activity, why there's so many unexplained things that happen in these places.
And I will say, while I was in the midst of beginning to write that book, I was full on expecting to write a book that exploited everything. It just was Hollywood busting right up the seams, like, this and that and the other thing and all this, and look at all this stuff, and look, everything that's happening here. And when I first went on my trip to visit these places, the first place I stopped at was the old Central State Hospital in Indianapolis. And I went there to take pictures for my big blockbuster book that's going to be huge, and it's going to have creepy stories, and it's going to have all kinds of ghosty stuff. I got to Central State. I don't know, you ever heard of Central State Hospital in Indianapolis? So it's a closed down mental institution there on Virginia Street, I think, right in downtown Indianapolis. It's since been destroyed, and they've actually paved it over and built apartment houses there. If I'd have known that, I would have gotten an apartment there instead of water. When I got to Central State, there were still several buildings still standing up, and when I got there, I was taking pictures outside of what used to be the Carpenter Building, just a plain brick building with dirty glass windows. And as I was turning around to get back into my truck to leave, mind you, this is during the day. There is nobody on this campus at all. It's just me and like 4 horses, because the Metropolitan Police have all their horse stables there. As I was getting ready to leave, I heard a voice behind me, not 4 feet behind me, ask me, said, "What are you doing here?" And I turned around, there was nobody there. I looked at the windows, there was nobody there. No other cars, no other people. I didn't see any other animals other than the horses. And it did not hit me until I actually drove off the property that what I heard clear as day was a disembodied voice that I had no idea where it came from. And it asked me, "What are you doing here?" And I didn't have an answer. what am I gonna say? I'm here to, I'm not, I wasn't there to tell their story. I was there to exploit them. And I realized at that moment, my entire life, the entire way I judged the paranormal and looked at the paranormal changed. Because I stopped seeing haunted locations. I stopped seeing, the gory special effects you see in the movies. I stopped seeing the creepy images, and I started seeing the people that were actually still there. 30, 40, 50, hundreds of years after they'd already died. It was just, that changed my perspective about paranormal, and it changed my perspective about the book. And it honestly became much better. And I became a much better person. So, because you realize these are people. They're just in a different form. And I wanted to tell their stories. I didn't want to tell stories of a building where awful things happen. I wanted to tell stories about people that awful things happen to. They've gone their whole lives being forgotten. This is my attempt to bring their story to the world, if I could do that. So far I've sold it to about 500 people. 500 people know their stories. But if I get to one person hears the story, then my whole mission, success. So that's about all I got to say about that.
I think at this point we'll go ahead and open it up for questions. If you guys have anything you want to ask us, anything at all, except like banking numbers and stuff like that.
Also, too, if there's any personal questions that you guys have that you feel more comfortable not saying out loud, again, we're going to kind of maybe close it down 10 or 15 minutes early before 6:45 or 7:45. And feel free to come up here if you have any personal questions that you have for us in particular. So, questions?
You guys want to take volunteers?
Volunteers. On our website, there's actually a contact us place that you are more than welcome to go and fill out. Just send us all of some of your information and let us know. And then we'll get back with you via email or phone call.
I think I have one question and two comments. Okay, the question is, have you ever tried using one of those boards?
Ouija board?
Yeah.
Okay. Good question. I think the good thing with our team is that we all have different views. One of us might think one thing or believe one, while the other does not. Just something completely different. Personally, from my personal experiences, not with Ouija boards, but there are negative things out there, things that can hurt you. And I think Ouija boards are just a tool. But a tool that could be used negatively if you don't know what you're doing. But it doesn't necessarily have to be like the Ouija board that everybody envisions, like that's on this, cardboard box with a little thing on it and stuff. I mean, you can make a Ouija board out of a piece of paper, a shot glass, and a pen. I mean, you can make your own Ouija boards, and it's not necessarily the Ouija boards that are dangerous, it's how people can use them and what it is you can look for. If that kind of answers your question. So me personally, no, I don't use Ouija boards. I never have, and I probably never will. But that's just me. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm with Justin. I mean, Ouija boards have been around for a long time. I don't know. It's like any other stuff. Who knows? Maybe it's a way to communicate. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just it's just a toy. I don't know. That's the way it's marketed. So, will we ever use it on the team? No. But who knows? Like it could be. There could be something behind it, and again, it could just be our minds are powerful things. And who knows really what we're capable of? If you start putting your mind to something, you go looking for something, you're gonna find it. We don't go into an investigation looking for paranormal activity. We go in to disprove paranormal activity. Using a Ouija board is going looking for that activity. That's not a tool we would ever use. Do you have anything to say on the subject?
I think you're a bad idea.
All
and the two comments, they're not paranormal, but on a computer, on your website. It's strange that the website URL says whatever census factor number. And the actual URL bar says something else.
Yeah,
How Google site.
we're
It's
working
kind
on
of
that.
strange though.
We were paying to host, the webpage, and, that company was overcharging us by quite a bit.
Right.
So, we took our site off of there, but we had paid for the site name. We had purchased the domain name, but we're having difficulty getting the company to hand it over so that we can use it, in the future. And it's still taken, because we thought, well, we'll just go get it again, but, it's still taken. I don't know if there's a time frame on it, but it's something that we're working on. We know that it's a little strange, but, it's a work in progress. This site is, my wife's been working on it, what, a few months? Probably. It's fairly new. Our group's been around for 2 years. We had a website for a year and a half, a year and 9 months before that switchover occurred. So this is still fairly fresh.
I've never heard of the search engine that is something.
Which one?
It's not cool, it's something else. It's not very weird.
I don't know what search engine.
You know, that is a common observation. Very good job.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a comment on the original one.
Okay.
I've been using from personal experience here. It is a bad idea to use it because it only attracts negative energy for attention. So what I use is the student filter with this has a principle and you use it, you can use child population for this, population for the other way around. And you need to be more specific in questions, and that usually helps.
And that way you can be the conduit to the board and then close anytime.
Yeah, but the reason, all we can do is nothing but a paper for the vote.
Is there any other questions?
You were saying during your investigation, if only one goes off or, just one piece of evidence, and that's all it can be easily explained away, that when you have the three come together or you have more than one, has that ever happened?
Occasionally, yeah.
Where you have like just a lot of things going on at the same time?
Yeah, it's a lot. It doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. It's pretty exciting when it happens. I don't know, do we have any?
So I
anything
do.
on
So earlier I was talking about how we were on the biography channel. This was actually my first big scare. I think luckily biography channel didn't leak what I said out.
I believed it.
What I'm going to do is I'll just let you guys watch it, and then I'll explain how things happen, and then I'll let you watch it again.
You cannot back down. I will leave this place. You cannot back down. I will leave this place.
So, I wish we had the original video, but unfortunately we don't. But what happened here in particular was, it was when I was very, very new, probably one of my first 3 or 4 times ever investigating. And we had caught an EVP, so we thought that said, "I'm from hell," at this particular spot. So one thing that I've learned from then since now is that provoking is not always the way to go. You watch the shows and you see these people go in and they're all come at me spirits or whatever, and that's not always the way to go. I mean, we have to remember, like we said, these are people that are like me or you. They're just not here with us right now. And if I come up to you and I've never met you and I'm like, "Hey, how are you?" and I'm yelling at you, you're probably gonna run away from me. Well, unfortunately for me, this particular thing that was here was not very nice. By no means was it demonic or anything like that. I think the best word that I've ever heard for them is called troubled spirits. They're of this world. They're just they were negative in life, so they're negative in death. And what happened here was I went back, I was provoking, and I had set the recorder on this tree. There was no wind that night, as you can see, there was nothing blowing. And right when I asked that thing to make me leave, the recorder was thrown. And it was kind of hard to see from there, but the recorder didn't just fall off. It was actually launched probably about 3 or 4 feet out towards me. Also later that night, I had a set of keys that I had in my hand. My car had remote start on it, and something was making this go off. And I had it in my hand, and I said, if this is you playing with these, can you do it again? And whatever it was had held this button down long enough to actually start my car. So it had pressed this button, held it for at least 3 seconds, and you could hear in the audio it start my car from the background. Again, this was actually all in one night, so it was kind of enough for me. But yes, so in that case, for your question, yes. Now, also this video wasn't very good for it, but the video does distort whenever I ask if it can. I think actually I asked, can you knock the recorder down? The video actually will distort, like it loses focus and kind of tries to figure itself out right before that knockdown. And what spirits are said to do is be able to drain energy from electronics. There's been plenty of times where we've been on investigations and we'll change our batteries as soon as we go in, and like our video cameras might say it has 300 minutes left on a battery. We go into a room, we fill cold spots, and we just feel something's not right. All of a sudden our battery's dead. And then we'll walk out of that room and then the battery's working just fine. So in that particular instance, I asked for it to do something. It did that. Our video camera distorted. We also caught EVPs that same night right around that same area, all at one time. So yes, it's not something that happens a lot, which is why even if we go to places like Moundsville, for instance, I think we might have left with like 3 or 4 clips of audio that we thought was really good, and I think 1, 2 videos that were kind of neat as well. Out of the entire night that we were over there for 6 hours, and we think we had 10, 12 people go with us. So between all of us investigating multiple parts of this prison, we only walk away with a couple pieces of evidence. So, and we're very picky on what it is that we keep. Does that answer it? Anything else anybody have?
Have you guys ever messed with thermal imaging or anything like that?
That's something that we'd really like to get into. And for those of you who don't know what thermal imaging is, it's going to pick up light sources instead of what we can see. Again, another spectrum of what we can't see necessarily. It picks up heat, kind of what firefighters do if they go into a building to find out where the fire are, if there's any people in there. The only issue with that is they're very, very, very expensive. Thermal imagers usually will only take pictures, not videos, unless you have an attachment. The thermal imager themselves are probably anywhere from 4 to 10 grand, for being on the extremely cheap side.
Be able to afford it, it's paid back.
The little handheld ones that you see a lot of times, like you've seen ghost hunters use them where they've got, one person will be holding the screen and another person will be, using the sensor. Yeah, those are probably upwards of $10,000. You can get smaller handheld ones that have just a small screen on them that can snap pictures. So it'll show you a very small image of whatever you're shooting, and you can snap pictures occasionally. Those are probably $1,000, but that's about as cheap as you're going to get. And so they're very difficult to come by. They're a great tool. They really are a great tool, but they're just difficult to get.
I just know you always hear people talk about, like they feel something is more personal.
Right.
And that would be a way to like.
It is. And that is like a paranormal investigator's dream to have. But again, like we said earlier, we do this free of charge. We don't charge anybody for what we do. Everything you see here, we bought ourselves some way or another. So it's, none of us are millionaires that I know of. So for us to be able to pop 10 grand out for a thermal imager, not yet.
Have you ever?
We're open on Ben.
Have you ever messed with like the like laser temperature one?
We do have some of those. I don't know if
We don't have one in that case.
Yeah,
like,
we have
you
one.
Takes temperature.
And we do that, and there has been times where it, again, it's one of those things, could it just be natural? Yeah, could it be a draft, or is it something that, there has been times where we'll take a reading temperature in the room and it might say 80 degrees, and then we'll walk somewhere, and then in this particular spot, it's reading 67 degrees, you know, but then right next to it, it's still reading the room temperature at 80. And it's just in a centralized spot. Now again, could that be something in particular that's there or not? This is the millimeter. This will read up the electrical frequencies of this. Also, this little piece up here will take temperature. So wherever this is, it's taking a room temperature of that particular area. And again, there's been times where, you know, it'll be here, 80 degrees here, 80 degrees here, here, but right here, it'll be 10, 15 degrees colder in just this particular spot. Again, it could be some day we find out that just cold air naturally pops out of nowhere, I guess, and makes a particular spot cold, but I don't know. But again, that's why we do what we do, to be able to use this equipment and be able to figure out why that cold spot just pops up out of nowhere.
Do any of you have scientific background where you can explain some of the?
A little bit. We all kind of have different backgrounds. I'm an engineer, so I've got a scientific background. What's that?
What kind?
Aerospace. So I've got a bit of a scientific background, but you know, nothing to do with the natural causes. You know, a lot of the EMF is natural, just occurs. You can go out in nature and take an EMF reading out in the woods. So what causes those things, I don't really have a background. I have a scientific background that I try to use and try to approach everything more analytically whenever we do investigations. But I don't think anybody really has a hard science. We don't have any chemists or physicists or anything like that. I'm supposed to get. And I'm not that.
But and again, kind of to go with that too, if anybody tells you that they're an expert in the paranormal field, probably lying, because there's no such thing as an expert in something that there is no hard evidence or theories. Everything that we do is based off ideas that we come up with, or that we hear another group come up with, or anything like that. It's kind of hard to have a background. I mean, granted, I see what you're saying, like more background in like the electrical side of it. I did 2 years in electrical engineering before I decided that was not my thing to do. But again, it's unfortunately we don't, but at the same time, it's kind of hard to actually find. I mean, there's so many different sciences that you could apply to the paranormal. I mean, electrical, I mean, even a plumber, you know, I mean, even things as far as that. I mean, it's really nice to have somebody with knowledge of that and everything. Which is why, as far as like expanding our team, it's something that we don't do often. We're a very tight family, but when we do, we like to find somebody that has talents that we don't have. Like, for instance, you know, none of us are plumbers. If I had somebody that was a plumber that really was interested in this field and we thought could be an asset to the team, we look for qualities like that so that way we can bring them onto the team and we can actually have somebody to do that, or an electrical engineer, or something of this such. Any other questions?
All right. Well, we do still have some time, so if anybody has questions that they want to ask us individually or kind of private, feel free. If anybody wants to come up and look at the equipment, you can come up and take a look at it. There's some more evidence.
Right. We also have some audio, so if anybody's interested in hearing some audio, I mean, if you guys want, if everybody's kind of interested, we can try. I don't know how well you'll be able to hear with the speakers, but we can try playing some over the speakers, and if you guys want, you can approach afterwards if you want to hear it better. We also have another video of what's the other video that we didn't play?
It's the white mist.
Yeah, it's like a white mist that we caught at Harrison High School. I kind of looked at it earlier on here. It's really hard to see on the projector, but again, if you guys want to come take a close look, we can show you that. But just, do you guys want to try and hear some of this audio over the speakers? Yeah.
What company's holding your domain name?
Wix. Wix is the company that we were using before.
So did you buy hosting and domain together as a package?
Yeah. So what I'm afraid of is that technically they own the name.
Because of the way, yeah.
Yes.
'Cause I don't know if they're actually like I think they're like a third party.
Right.
Probably.
Yeah. So I don't know how it works exactly. So we've tried contacting them. We tried contacting Google, and Google doesn't have anything to do with it. They told us where we should be able to go to get it, and we can go look it up and find out that yes, we have it, but
Yeah,
we
like
can't.
who is search, yeah.
Yeah, but we can't get Wix to provide anything that says that we own the name.
Yes, I've done website work for people, so I've always used GoDaddy and stuff like that. I never have any trouble like linking it to anywhere,
Yeah.
but it's just weird. Good luck on that.
We've been trying for a while, but like I said, it's still new. And this is something that we have to do.
Like, just maybe open, try to open web. Sure, it's open, right.
And so this is something we have to do in our spare time. We'll have full-time jobs, we have other things to do. It's not something we can dedicate an entire week to try and figure out. We have to do it a little bit at a time.
Oh, yeah.
So it takes a little bit longer, but
So when you were writing your book, did you just do it full time for what you were doing, or
Pretty much.
when you were gathering information, I guess?
I mean, I work full-time at CBS, but pretty much any time that I wasn't at work,
That
I was working.
All right, so I'll kind of play some stuff that we have here. I'm pretty sure this is, I think, one of Ben's favorites.
it's one of my favorites.
Awesome.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your call. That's okay. Did you hear that? Did you? What did you hear? Yeah. Did you hear that? Was that you? I didn't hear it. Did you hear that? Yeah. I thought it was Samantha. No.
So I don't know if you guys heard that laugh right before that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your call. That's okay. Did you hear that?
Kind of put this in context, it was the three of us right here, and we were probably standing about like this. We're all standing looking at each other. We're facing each other, but we're all looking down different directions down the hallway. And we all hear that laugh. Justin and I both immediately turned and looked at Sam because it sounded like somebody was standing right in the middle of us and giggling. And we both turned to her because it sounded like a girl laughing. And she looked at us like we were crazy. But she heard it too, so, and to get that on the recorder, that was pretty exciting.
You know, we have someone here from, I'm sure some of you guys have probably heard of Indiana Beach. We actually had the opportunity to go and investigate there one night. We had the entire park to ourselves during their off hour.
And it was cold that night. Pretty good piece, pretty clear. It rarely comes through that clear. That was cleaned up a little bit too. we use a program, it's just a free program, that, you can take the audio files and you can manipulate them. You can remove background noises, you can, try to filter out high-pitched noises, low-pitched noises, to try to make whatever's in the background come through a little bit clearer. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you'll think you hear something, and you'll go through, you'll try to clean it up, and then it ends up sounding like nothing. There's either nothing there, or you find out it was, a car driving by, or
Or
whatever.
you're totally convinced that something's there, and everybody else in the meeting says, I don't know what you're looking at, what you're doing.
Yeah,
Are you using Audacity?
yeah. We use Audacity for all of our audio. It's a pretty good program. It is. It's a little hefty sometimes, I think, though. The project files that you get out of it are enormous.
Have you ever experimented with any other digital audio workstations, like
No.
Reaper?
No.
Reaper's a freeware that's, if you ever have time, check it out.
Okay.
I think it's a lot more user friendly, that's what I'm looking into from Audacity.
Okay.
That's
Check
what
that
I.
out. Yeah, we're always looking for better stuff.
Reaper's good, it's free.
So I have another one here.
Are you getting bored with this game? Are you getting bored? Are you getting bored with this game?
Now we have one more voice.
That's a good one.
You know, that's a pretty good piece because you can hear other people talking, the other people that are there. You can hear them talking, and then you hear another voice that doesn't sound like anybody that was already there. So that's something that we'll come across something like that, and we'll have to go back through in our heads and try to remember, okay, who was at the building, where was everybody at? You know, was somebody in another room that could have shouted that? But
And we're pretty systematic on how we record sessions, and every time we start one, we always notate who's in the room with us, where we're at, what time it is. We try and be specific as possible. I even go as far as, usually I will sit about 5 minutes before I even start asking questions, and I will notate, okay, I hear a officer, okay, I hear a car, or I hear a dog outside, or I can hear investigators in another room, or whatever it is I can pick up, I will call that out. Even during the investigation, I mean, you know, if you were to actually listen to our entire audio, we'll be asking questions and occasionally smile, pipe in, that was a car, or that was another investigator, or that was this, or that was that, because whenever we're going back through, sometimes it's 3 or 4 days later before we actually get to re-listen to that audio. We don't get to listen to it right away. So I might forget that there was a dog barking outside unless they call it out right then and there. Even as far as like if we breathe a little hard, every little noise that we try and call it out right away. So I'll let you guys listen to this one. It's on our Facebook by popular demand. This one in particular was at Post Town Elementary. This one was the difference between an EVP and a disembodied voice is an EVP is something that you don't hear at the time. So if there was a spirit here talking, we would not hear it speak at all until we listen to the recorder. It's spoken at a lower frequency of what we can hear, which I think a lot of these that we heard, except the giggle, because we did acknowledge that we heard it, would have been an EVP. A disembodied voice would have been like the time how Ben was saying how he was at Central State and actually heard somebody, what are you doing here? When you hear that with your own ears, that's called a disembodied voice. This particular one is an actual disembodied voice. It was me and another investigator. We were at Town Elementary. It's in Ohio. Very great place. Amazing people there. But again, it's one of the paid investigations that we go to. And we were having issues with our walkie-talkie that we had. And we're trying to figure out what it is. And in the background, you can hear somebody say something that we both hear with our own ears. And again, keep in mind that it was just me and him in this particular room. There's no one near us. And the door was shut in the room that we were in. Okay, yeah, this is not gonna be loud enough, but we do have, headphones here, so if you guys do wanna come hear any of this stuff, let me know.
I think that's it.
When you guys are editing audio, like I have a background, I do a lot of audio engineering and like mixing for music and bands and stuff. Are you guys like making sure that, like, when you listen to something over and over and over and over, like, do you take a break after a few minutes and come back to it?
We usually do, but not only that, one thing that we like to do is save that audio. So if I hear somebody say, "Come here," I'll take that audio to Zach and say, "What do you hear?"
Because
Right.
Because when you're mixing music too, if you listen to something over and over and over for so long, you can start hearing things that aren't really
Exactly.
there, or hearing things as they don't really sound.
Right. Because that's what our brains that's what they try and do is make sense, like Zach said earlier, of something that we don't know. So there's a lot of times where you'll hear a noise, and then your brain, especially since I'm looking for voices in this recording, that's what I'm trying to find is voices. And then if I hear a sound, I might think, oh, that just said "come here" or something like that, when it's not really saying that at all, which is why if I ever hear something, even if I think and there's been times where I'm like, oh, this voice, I know it says, "come here," and then I'll let Zach listen to it, and he's like, no, that's nothing, or anything like that. And usually it's one of those things where even if I'm absolutely 100% sure that sound says "come here," and Zach says no, it's a no. That's something that we throw out, and it's not evidence. It's something that we all have to agree on to say, there's something here that we don't know what it is for us to actually present to a client or to post on our website or to even remotely consider evidence.
You said, if you listen to something over and over for like half an hour straight, like you'll start to imagine it says whatever you want.
Correct.
If you're listening to something long enough.
Yeah, it'll be
Your
there.
brain will make it up just so you can hear it.
Or even if I hear something say "come here," and I say, "Hey Zach, listen to this thing say "come here," and then he's looking for this thing to say "come here," so he's going to hear that. So that's why whenever we always try, we do evidence reviews separately. We'll each get a file or something like that, or a section. We'll listen to it, we'll mark what we find, and then we'll kind of share them with each other. What do you hear? So if I hear "come here" and I don't tell Zach, and I say, "Zach, what do you hear?" and then he hears "come here," and then I let Ben listen to it, and he says it says "come here." Okay, there's 3 people that all heard the exact same thing without being told what it was they heard. So that's a pretty good conclusion that something said "come here."
Just one other question from the audio standpoint. Do you guys ever on your recorders or anything, do you guys ever use windscreens on them? Or anything to block out
We don't.
the low? Because it'll give you more gain to what the noise is really happening to block out.
Right. We have in the past tried to do something
They
similar.
might filter out too much.
Exactly.
They might filter out too much.
Right, and these that we actually have filters built into them, and we've kind of learned that if you kind of take some of that away, it's really hard to hear things, if anything at all. Because what the EVPs do is again, hypothesis is the reason we can hear things on the recorder that we can't with our own ear, is because it's spoken at a frequency that our ears can't pick up. Where these recorders can pick up, again, a lot lower frequencies than what we can hear, which is why sometimes things will pop up on there that we just don't hear at that time. And the issue with that is that sometimes you block out some of those lower frequencies that we can't hear. Which is why a lot of times if we do an outside investigation where there is wind and there is noise contamination, unless it's a very, very clear voice, anything as far as like bumps or anything like that, we usually have to automatically throw out just because we're outside.
If you're getting wind at like -4 decibels like already, that's such a high noise for something that'd be louder. Again, it's gotta be tough being outside.
We don't do a lot of outdoor investigating. About the only place we do outdoor is ears, and we do that more just So we can be a little more picky, you know,
Yeah.
and just throw stuff out on a whim, you know, if it was a windy night, yeah, we had personal experiences, but the audio works.
Yeah.
So, you know, but if it's really still night, you know, it's kind of blocked in by a bunch of trees, so you can get some good audio out there, just has to be the right questions.
Yeah.
You know, they were investigated Pittsburgh.
But it is on our list to go eventually, so.
It would be awesome. I think they just recently opened it up to investigations. They had it closed down for a long time. Because I remember reading that they weren't letting paranormal teams in there for investigations. And then just recently I heard that they opened it back up. I don't know how recently. But yeah, it's definitely a place that we would love to go.
Anything else for anybody? All right, thanks for coming. Like I said, if you have any personal questions or anything you have to address with us, we'll be up here for the next 10 minutes or so. So, thank you guys for coming. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.